Good evening, dear friends. Good evening, and welcome to this thing of ours on this Friday, the 7th of June, in the year 2024. Let me remind you, as I always do, before we get going, to put everything into perspective so that you understand what we're doing and what we are looking at. Specifically, my friends, remember, it is exactly 151 days until the election. Let me say, first of all, thank you so much for being with us. Please make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you're subscribed. Please hit that little bell. In case you haven't heard, my friends, there seems to be a little bit of a kerfuffle, a little bit of news that everybody's rather excited about. Let me explain this to you. It appears that Judge Juan Merchan has notified prosecutors and trial counsel about a comment that was left on the New York court system's Facebook a day before the Trump verdict. Let me say this again. In a letter written by Judge Merchan, let me see if I can blow this thing up so I can read it better. I'm reading the letter right now. This is kind of interesting. Let's see how this thing works. Oh, forget it. That ain't gonna work. In any event, it says something to the effect. It says, today the court, this was written, by the way. The date was June 7th, today. Dear counsel, today the court became aware of a comment that was posted on the Unified Court System's public Facebook page. Unified Court System is the administrative office, if you will, of the New York courts. And which I now bring to your attention. In the comment, the user, quote, Michael Anderson states, quote, my cousin is a juror and says Trump is getting convicted, with a emoji of some sort. Thank you, folks, for all your hard work. The comment, now labeled as 1 week old, responded to a routine UCS notice posted on May the 29th regarding oral arguments in the 4th Department of the Appellate Division, unrelated to the proceeding. The posting, entitled the Appellate Division, 4th Division, blah, blah, blah. So we'll see what happens. Okay. Now, question number one. And I want you to think like a lawyer, not as a Trump fan, not as somebody who's happy, not somebody who wants to see this. But if this is true, if a juror told a juror cousin that we're going to convict Trump, is that mistrial worthy? Let's start with you. What do you think? What analysis? How would you answer this question? Let's see if you're made of lawyer stuff. Go ahead, friends. Fishman says, yep, that's it. Yep, that's a mistrial. That's a mistrial. If a juror were to say, we're convicting him, okay, that's it. We're convicting him. We're not convicting him. How about that? Let's say, believe it or not, it was going to be a unanimous not guilty. And that person were to say, we're not going to convict him. Would you think it's a mistrial then? Of course not. Because you want things that only go your way. Justice, in your mind, only applies to cases and situations that comport and comply with your world. You don't want a mistrial if Trump is convicted. Now, it's very difficult to appeal, or you can't appeal an acquittal, but you can stop it. See, what people do is they want this to be where now the issue that no one is asking, and I love you all. I love you. What's your critical reasoning? How many issues, how many mistrials have you dealt with in your life? How many times have you had the answer to research? Well, what is a mistrial? When does one happen? When something happens, do you know how many things go wrong and could go wrong where you can say, oh, that's irregular? So the question you should be asking is, number one, what do I know about mistrials? But that's not the way it works. We don't work like that in this country. We just say, nope, that's it. Why? Because I am an expert. I know about these things. I know about COVID. I know about a lot of stuff. I know about a lot of stuff. And this, I'm telling you right now, this COVID, no, absolutely not. Really? Yeah, okay. Well, we need to find out more about it. And if all that happened was, you're going to get this guy, Michael Anderson, you're going to find out maybe who he is. They're going to put it this way, they're not going to have a lot of people going out of their way to find this out. If you turn the court police, so to speak, loose and say, I want you to find this Michael Anderson. I want you to get to the bottom of this. Do you think they're going to look for him? Do you? Would they want a mistrial? No. Are they going to really? Sorry, Judge, we can't find a Michael. Okay, I'm going to call the jurors back. Does anybody have here a cousin named Michael Anderson? No? Okay, that's it. Thank you. We tried to find him. Did the person who responded to Facebook, can we reach out? Can we find out who this person was? Will Facebook help us? Will Facebook say, I'm sorry, that user information is confidential? Ladies and gentlemen, Fishman says, how can a president be put in jail? Wouldn't they have to empty out that particular jail? This seems really implausible to me. Well, first of all, thank you, Fishman. Question is, how can a president be put in jail? Anybody care to answer that? Do you mean put in the jail with the general population? Going to the mess hall and chow lines and going to the yard? Is that what you mean? Is that the only way that a person could go to jail? I don't think so. What if there's a separate part of the jail? What if there's Rikers or Sing Sing where they're by themselves? He has his own jail. His own jail. What happens with that? Would that be a problem? Next, what role does the fact that he's the president play in terms of the supremacy clause? Was it Article 5 or something? I don't know. It's been a while since I looked at it. But do you think that the federal government say, excuse me, yes, I'm sorry, I hate to do this to you, but we're the federal government. And who are you? You are who? You're Manhattan court. I see. Okay. Well, listen, thank you very much, but we don't recognize your jails and your system. We're the federal government. This is the president, the leader of the free world. So do me a favor. Just let me ask you this question, Fishman. Let's assume, for the sake of argument, that President Trump was caught at some point driving with a suspended license. Do you think the authorities in D.C. or Florida could go up and arrest him for that now? It's not just this, it's other things as well. What is he immune from? And from a practical matter, remember, when you're sentenced to jail, if you are a suspect, a prime, not a suspect, but you are a really big deal. If you're a big deal, let's say you're Sammy the Bull, they could put you in protective custody, because you are such a big deal. So there are ways, there are a lot of questions. I mean, a lot of questions that we can answer, and we can talk about this because it's a fascinating question. But I do not know if we said, if I had to argue on behalf of the state, and I said, why do we need a mistrial? So and so, did you tell your cousin that? No. Now, everybody in your family knew they were all the jurors had family members that knew they were on the trial, on the actual case itself. So you're not, there were a lot of people there who said, oh, my brother knew it. My brother knew it. I had absolutely the same thing. And this is the issue, which is the most important story here. It's very, very interesting. And remember, he is a convicted felon. And a convicted felon now opens himself up in the next sentencing. Because see, one of the things that gets him off the hook, once that, what helps him is they can say, look, he has no priors. This is a nonviolent offense. Whatever. But once he's a convicted felon, it changes things. So there's going to be all kinds of things. What about his gun? What about his right to vote? And what about his right? Can his civil rights be restored? I'm telling you, we're gonna play that one bit at a time. The issue is, I am not feeling this as a mistrial. I'd love there to be. I need to know a little bit more about it. Got a guy named Michael Anderson. This okay. That's it, mistrial. Why? Well, if one of the other jurors, again said, you know what, I got to tell you something. It kills me, but I keep telling people I want to vote for not guilty, but they keep, browbeating me, and I don't know what to say. Is that mistrial? Does that affect the integrity of the trial, or is that merely something? We'll see. Don't know yet. But it's interesting. Can you imagine? Stop for 1 second. Stop. Just stop. Close your eyes. Can you imagine what would happen if he were to be given mistrial? Wouldn't you love it? Wouldn't you? I would just. Oh, this is so good. I don't even want to think it. This is so good. I don't want to think it. It's like when you find out that the lottery ticket you bought at the store, that the Mega Billions ticket came from that obscure store that you bought the ticket from. I don't want to think about it. Could it be me? I don't know. It's too exciting to know. I don't know about this. I'm not sure. But stop for a second. Can you imagine? What would you do? What would you do? What would you seriously do? What would you think? What would you? I didn't even know. I would laugh so hard. He would almost be elevated to a status that no one could even comprehend. All right, my friends. I got some other good stuff I want to show you. We had a good time this morning. I had a great time on Ventilation Friday. I was talking to you about dancing and all kinds of stuff. I got some other stuff for you, which we've never discussed. But I want to. But in the meantime, my friends, let me ask you something. Are you squared away if you need, for some reason, let's say you're someplace and there's something bad happens and you have no food. There are no stores open. No stores. What do? Or how are you equipped for emergency food? I promise you. People say, oh, I've got emergency food. No, you've got emergency food. But for a week? Well, for a week. I got some potato chips and stuff. We got some pasta. I got some sauce. I got some jerky. Got some beans and stuff. Got, yeah, but for a week, you got a family. Can you do this? Well, everything will be open. Really? See, people just don't. It goes to say, what do you mean no food? There's stores. Look, Costco may be closed, but there's always Piggly. No. Preparewithlionel.com. Listen to this. It's no longer a question of if something catastrophic is coming, it's when. And while you still have some control, what are you going to do about it now to prepare? Well, your first step is going to my website, preparedwithlionel.com. And for a limited time, take $200 off a 3-month emergency food supply. My Patriot Supply is equipped to help you and your family to prepare. They've helped over 2 million families already. These 3-month kits with ready hour foods provide over 2,000 calories every day with 22 varieties and a 25-year shelf life. Breakfast, lunches, dinners, drinks, snacks, everything. And they're sealed inside 6 rugged waterproof buckets, and they're over 120 pounds of food. So take advantage right now and go to preparedwithlionel.com, preparedwithlionel.com. One more time, preparedwithlionel.com. Now, friends, I want to bring something up too. Before, I don't want to leave this subject, but this mistrial business. Mistrials are normally before verdicts, and there's something called impeaching the verdict. And this happened one time. Motion to impeach a verdict. See, draw by a lot. This happened one time. This was one of the very interesting things. Well, let me tell you what happened, and see if this helps. I told you before, as you know, my friends, there's this thing called polling the jury. You poll the jury. I remember, class, when do you poll? When you lose. That's right. When you win, you get the hell out of there and you go home. Thank you, Judge. Wait a minute. What? No, that's okay. We're all done. Thank you. Go. Prosecution, defense. If you win, shut up. If you lose, you say, Judge, we'd like you to poll the jury. Okay. Juror number 1, is this your vote? Yes, it is. Does it? Yes, it is. Juror number 3, yes, it is. Is this your vote? Is what my vote? Let's say juror number 4. Is what my vote? A guilty vote? No, mine was not guilty. I thought you had to be unanimous just for non-guilt. This happened one time. It was a DUI. Prosecutor had his name in the phone book. This is how old this was. Phone call. It was an acquittal. Thank you. He never polled the jury. Got a call on the phone. Hello, Mr. So-and-so. Yes. You don't know me. Probably, we met. I was a juror on your case today. Yeah. Let me ask you something. Doesn't it have to be unanimous both ways? Doesn't a conviction involve a unanimous vote of all the jurors? And doesn't an acquittal likewise require unanimous votes of non-guilt? And anything short of that is a mistrial. Hung jury, correct? Yeah. Well, that's what I thought. But they thought, no. See, they found him not. We thought, or they said, that the verdict had to be unanimous only for conviction. He said, no. So the next day, and we all got called. They said we had to, we were researching this. And this is before LexisNexis. We're like going through books, actually, digest and trying to find something. And there was a motion to impeach the verdict. And it was to impeach the verdict is when they drew by lot. There was something that went wrong in the deliberation process. The verdict's already been reached. So you can't get a mistrial after the fact. So we're going to be playing with that. Okay? Okay. Now, on a more important note, this morning I told you my desire was to show you how to be, or how to how do I say this? There's a notion, I wanted to show you this particular dance move, which I want to master. And I hope you saw it's called Zauli, Zaouli, is from the Ivory Coast. And it is phenomenal. Watch what this fellow does. Now watch this and see if you can do this. First of all, I like to get up. Now watch right off the bat. Now watch the legs. This is Joe Biden when he's got when his depends shift. This is what I have to learn how to do. I've been watching this Zauli all over the place. I'm in love with this. This is the dancing, and nothing makes me. I would do this all the time. Waiting in line at the store, anything, and wearing the mask in a bank, by the way, with a note. Johnny Maz, by the way, John Maz says, what a fun show you had this morning. What a laugh I had. The DeFranco family, Heartbeat, It's a Love Beat. Haven't heard of that group in years. And the guy dancing, you said, let's see Joe do that. Very good. Isn't that funny? You actually posted this very kind message after I did this. Now, here's the one I had mentioned this morning, which I really want to tell you about. And this is the one which I find is the most fascinating. This is a little bit of a clip, but I want you to watch this with me. And you may have seen this, but this is the one that blows my mind. Watch his feet. I don't know what you call that. I know it's very, very quick. We'll do this again. Watch very carefully and try to find his feet hit the ground. Watch again. What is, I'm going to do it again. One more time. This, I keep watching this. I'm trying to slow it down. There's a fellow who shows you how to do it. I don't even know the name of it. This is this floating now. See if you can see the feet hit the ground. Okay. Doesn't that just kill you? That absolutely blows my mind. I'm sorry. I'm a sucker. One more time. One more time. Makes the moonwalk pale by that kills me. And the Baldwins think they're going to actually compete with us. The Baldwins. It's incredible. By the way, he does not have hover shoes on. That's actually, it's done. And there's a way of showing you how to do this. You see the stuff that you learn? You see the stuff that you learn? Now, by the by, this morning we were talking about something, and there was a case involving Brianna Joy Gray. And there is a show called The Rising. And The Rising, come on for the rising. That song is about 9/11, and I'm not really sure why. In any event, The Rising. And it's from The Hill. It's Brianna Joy Gray or Gray Joy or Joy Gray and some guy named Robbie. And Robbie's a real, just a wimp. He's just a nice guy, but just doesn't have he's not very exciting. He's like, always like, well, that's his whole position. What do you think about this? Well, Robbie, microwaving kittens. Any thoughts? Well, okay, fine. As you may or may not know, let me set this up. There has been, by virtue of the work of Max Blumenthal and Aaron Mate at the Gray Zone, and others as well, a disputatious riposte, so to speak, challenges to the official story regarding the horrors that have been experienced and discussed in Gaza on October the 7th. Okay, you got that? Hang on, before we go. Hacksaw Wim Dorian with my flag was Hacksaw Jim Duggan, I think you mean. Or as you say, Hacksaw Wim Dorian with the flag was my favorite wrestler. Did you like him? Tell us some about him. Plus, was a nicer dude? I don't know what this means, but thank you. I did not know Mr. Duggan. Hacksaw Jim Duggan. He also had the club. Remember, he had like a club. He carried around, or was it an act? No, it was a club or something. He would use like a Buford Pusser, if I recall correctly. Mr. Duggan, I believe, was with the Iron Sheik on that ill fated, I think it was New Jersey Turnpike, where they were pulled over and they might have found some drugs in their possession. And Vince McMahon was more upset with the fact that you had a baby face and a heel traveling together. That's what got his attention more than anything else, which I found interesting. So anyway, back to our study. So there was this group of people. Breaking Points will have it. The Rising has it. Max Blumenthal, Aaron Mate on Gray Zone, Katie Halper, Abby Martin. Go down just a slew of folks. Amy Goodman is more of a reserve, but there are very, very very aggressive folks who are saying that the story, everything about sexual attacks and everything on October the 7th, they're saying it never happened, that the person who wrote this from the New York Times was himself a bit of a prevaricator. It's not true. Okay. Now, you don't know what that is. That's like, you talk about being a denier. You're saying that didn't happen? Beheadings and just go down the list and saying, yep, never happened. Or there might have been abuse, but not at the scale you're saying. So there's all kinds of clarifications. Okay, you got that? All right. My suggestion is, if you ever were to say that in public, make sure you're very, very, very careful in saying it. So in this case, Brianna Joy Gray was interviewing, what I guess was a woman who, I believe her sister was involved with it. What was involved in this fateful October the 7th horror. When she got to the point of saying, please, Brianna, please understand, when you hear about this, have either respect or believe or whatever it is. Brianna rolled her eyes and kind of did a, oh, come on. Thank you very much. Let's go to break. Boom. It's like, I don't want to hear this crap. That was it. She was immediately removed from this. And I want to play this for you. And I want to see what you think of this. And if you think her dispatch was too much.
Believe women when they say that they got hurt.
All right. Thanks for joining. Stick around. More Rising coming.
Let's try this again. I'm sorry. That might have been a bit truncated. Here she is saying, basically, now this is Brianna's look of kind of like she was very nice during this. And towards the end, she's like, she just can't take this anymore. Because she, of course, thinks that the woman speaking is most probably either a mouthpiece or whatever. I don't want to put words in her mouth. Now, watch her face again. And when this woman says, please, Brianna, please have some respect or listen to the family members, watch her response.
Thank you. Me too. And I really hope that you specifically will believe women when they say that they got hurt.
All right. Thanks for joining. Stick around. More Rising coming.
Stick around? Okay, what do you think about that? What do you think about that? She did that's called a suspiration, by the way. Is to suspire. That's a suspiration. But do you think that's, she obviously was like saying, oh, would you please? She never even said anything. She kind of rolled her eyes. She kind of said, okay, thank you. Thank you. Stick around. Do you think that is worth her being fired? Disrespectful? Yeah. What do you think? Should she have been fired for that? Yes or no? Was she snotty? Yes, snotty. What do you think? She has a tude. Indeed. Oh, yes. Oh, all these folks have tudes like you do not believe. What do you think about that? What do you think? Come on. Hillbilly says, I despise her. Okay, fair enough. No, she is a DEI hire. No, she's not. Do you know that she, believe it or not, in terms of, he probably doesn't care about this, she is of, I believe, Harvard, I think, law and undergrad. She's very smart. She was Bernie Sanders, I think, press secretary or something. I don't know if she's a DEI. And that you can't always say whenever there's a black person, oh, you're DEI, affirmative action. We used to always say quota. What do you go? Face it, I don't care if she can get another job. Well, that's true. No class, true. Now let me ask you something. The issue is this. Did you hear what I asked you? Do you think she should be fired? Not if you like her. Is she rude? Is she snotty? I say the same thing about, Joy Behar is rude and snotty. Yeah, she's the same way. Should they be fired? Why should she be fired? The question is, why should she be fired? Not what she said was wrong. You can argue all day long. You say, that's ridiculous. Why should she be fired? With everything that goes on, from Bill Maher to, how about the guy who grabs Ben Shapiro, who's it, Katie Tur's father or whatever it was, and grabs, he goes, how'd you like me to break your back? He'd be fired? I mean, fire her? All she did was roll her eyes and say, no, I'm not. Remember, the two issues, whether you agree with her is one thing. Whether she was snotty, yeah. You want to fire people because they're snotty? Again, it has nothing to do with whether I believe. I'll tell you my real thoughts about what's going on here. But my question is this. Think about this. Why do we want to fire people? It's this cancel culture. You're a part of it. You're a part of it. You're a cancel culture person. It's exactly what you're doing. I'm sorry. It's like, so that hashtag, so what? Okay, she was rude. Okay. All right. Yeah. What? Dershowitz is rude sometimes, or this one. I mean, whatever. But she didn't say anything. She rolled her eyes and, all right, that's it. Move along. Step up. That's it. Now, I'm really anti-firing. I don't want to fire people. I'm sorry. And do you mean to tell me that we've got to make a big, no, again, I know what she was saying. They've been saying for the longest time on platform after platform that and I have not researched this enough, but their position is that this whole October the 7th story is bogus at every level. This is the position that many people are saying. Okay, should they be allowed to say that? Of course they should be allowed to say that. Should they be allowed to refute that? Of course they should be allowed to refute. They say whatever you want. But fire somebody because you rolled your eyes? And not whether, she's snotty. Maybe. Joy Behar is snotty. Okay. You see what people are doing? We're doing like this. Now, let me tell you the story, okay? And this is one of these things that I mean to tell you. I've seen this my whole life, okay? First is you get involved in something where you become so passionate you cannot let people go. You ever see Shmuley Boteach? Oh, I haven't seen him lately, but dear God. Junk yogurt, same thing. Screaming and yelling. They can't handle it. Okay? And I saw what happens. You get in this thing and you think, you know what? I know more about this than you do. And you're on these shows all the time. All the time. And you're talking to this one. And you're on with Norman Finkelstein. And then you're on with this one. And you're on with that one. And you just surround yourself with like-minded people who believe that it's not that they, quote, hate Israel, but they want to de-Zionize Israel. They want Israel out of there. It's not a two-state, it's a one-state, and it's Palestinian only, and get out, this settler colonialism. Believe me, you know this. Today there was some kind of, I don't know what it was, in front of Lincoln Center, cops were out in force. They weren't in force during the George Floyd riots, but by God, they're out covering a graduation? Okay. Boy, our priorities are so screwed up, okay? So anyway, make a long story short, which is never the case. Whenever somebody says, to make a long story short, it's going to get longer. And I've seen people, you get involved and you think you know everything and you're smart and you're hip and you're on the rising and you're this, and you go and they love you and you are the belle of the ball, and you got Elon Pape and you've got everybody. You are it. So then you meet somebody who comes on and she's going to say exactly what you know she's going to say. This was her sister. This was a family member. She's going to come out and she is going to say, my sister was attacked, humiliated, mutilated, whatever it is, sexually abused. And what are you going to say? What are you going to say? What? Roll your eyes? You child, you little child. You don't know how to play this game, do you? You let your genius get in the way of your common sense. You don't know how to play this game, do you? It's a game. You're going to lose your gig over that. You're going to you have a woman. Now think about this. This is a woman on who is pouring her heart out about a family member or whatever who was dragged by, and you can hear her testimony. And you're going to roll your eyes and, oh, please. Thank you. No, Brianna, you're an idiot. There's nothing to do with the claim, nothing to do with, Palestine or any stuff, rivers of the sea. No. You're an idiot. And I've seen this. And the thing you could have said was, thank you for being with us and move on. But no, you're so much a part of the team that when somebody confronts you, including a family member, who does this remind you of? Let me give you a hint. Who is the first one who can tell you who this reminds you of? Let me give you a point. Let me give you a hint. Denying that something happened. Denying. Saying that, oh, no, that didn't happen. That's bogus. I don't believe that. I don't believe there was a travesty. I don't believe there was a murderer. I don't believe there was. I'll give you a hint. I don't believe there was a shooting. I don't believe there were kids killed at it. You know what I mean? You've heard this before. I think those are crises. How many times have you heard this? Come on. Nobody's just say the name. And we'll move on. One person, Gloria says, let me guess, one person here. Now we got to think, come on, not one. You're writing all this up. Not one person has written the name. Not one. A minute's gone by. Nobody. Why do you say Fannie? What is Fannie? Not Fannie Willis. Fannie Willis has nothing to do with this. AJ, thank you. Alex Jones basically said, or is purported to have said, or is believed to have said, or was proved to have said that this idea of a school disaster never happened. Sandy Hook didn't happen, or something like that. And I couldn't tell you what he said. Okay. Now, we're into not libel. We're into denial. Think about this. That never happened. Now, what's happening in the case as was purported regarding Mr. Jones, family members were saying, oh, no. This was not about merely you denying what happened. This was you unleashing torrents of lunatics calling us up and threatening us. And this is the testimony. And that's a different issue. Am I liable for if I don't say to people, hey, you, I want you to go over to this guy's house. His name is, George Jablinski, and he lives at 224, and I want you to go there and rough him up. And that even fails the Brandenburg test. But what happens is because of the lunacy that is so predominant, because of the crazy people, when you go on and you say, I think that's BS, that didn't happen, some guy's going to take off. I'll do it for you, Al. Wait a minute. Hold it. I never said you. So that's another issue. But this is the second time you've got denials. Now, during the course of this, remember when they had Holocaust denials, moon landing denials, there were people who believe, basically it's revisionism. Rule number 1, you should be able to deny anything you want to. Number 2, that doesn't mean you're going to keep your job. It means that the government's not going to prosecute you. I don't think you should be sued if that's really what it's all about. Inciting people is another story. Let me take you again through this. Let's go through this very carefully. Number 1, you should be able to say anything you want. I don't believe World War I even happened. I think it was a hologram. You should have heard during 9/11. Those weren't planes. Those were holograms. I heard somebody say that. Those weren't planes. Nobody died. There weren't people. Operation Northwoods. That didn't happen. That was an explosion. That was a demolition. That was this. That was that. Your version didn't happen. And all those people, they weren't. Okay? I've been through this. People would say, well, how do you know they were killed in that 9/11? Well, they didn't come home. Well, how do you know they were there? Well, they didn't come home. Did they identify the body? How can they identify the body? Well, how do you know? By the way, there were some people who took off. There were some people who started new lives, and people who cashed in life insurance policies because Rudy had signed some executive order to speed up the death process. So what I'm saying is, how am I supposed to deal with, okay, listen, new rule. I sound like Mar, please. Nobody say that you don't believe something happened. Why? Well, okay, so that's number 1. You should be able to say it. You shouldn't be sued. That's the government. But here's the rule. Brianna, are you an idiot or what? Don't you know what's going to happen? You've got some program director. You got somebody who's going to say, we want her fired. They're not going to lose the whole thing. Nobody's worth it. Believe me when I tell you this. I don't care if Bill Maher found that out. Remember Bill Maher? He was on that show, and I mean that. He was on Politically Incorrect. He said, well, I don't know about you calling them cowards. The people who flew those planes in, they weren't cowards. Out you go. That's okay. Why? Because he's an idiot. He's an idiot. He doesn't learn because he was so filled with himself. I'm Bill Maher. And then one day you just say something. Bob Grant did this. Bob Grant, dear friend, one of the early pioneers of conservative talk radio, made a comment about Ron Brown when the plane went, and it wasn't that bad. But they were ready to bounce him. They had years and years of Bob Grant. Oh, my God. Would refer to Mayor Dinkins as the washroom attendant of whatever. People would call him and say, where are you from? Why don't you wash my car? I mean, again, if you don't like Bob Grant, don't listen to him. I've got a thick skin. I just don't listen to people. It doesn't matter. I don't care. But this is, this is corporate and ABC and ooh. So here's the idea. I want everybody to say, folks, let me explain something to you. Hi, welcome. Welcome to the spring. And by the way, to Sagar and Crystal Ball, be on the lookout. Because Crystal's getting high and mighty with her anti-Israel, her perceived anti-Israel fervor is just getting out of, and she just goes, say, take it easy. Take it easy. Remember this. Listen to this carefully. Listen to this. Pick the hill you want to die on. If you want to go out with a bang, go ahead. If your job, if you don't care, say, I'm gonna say this. Okay, go ahead. And when they fire you, you will be able to say, and I said it. Okay. And nobody will care for you. Nobody will remember. Nobody will say, hey, wasn't that great? You remember all those people during the COVID mania when people were on all these platforms and they said, be careful. I'm going to say whatever I want. You're going to, this is Bill Gates and the nanotech, eugenics, gone. Hey, where'd he go? Oh, well. And the party continued. Meanwhile, this hero patriot was all by himself, never to be heard from again. Well, he's on Rumble. Well, he's on Boop Shooter, Bitch. Okay. Never understood that. Do you mean to tell me that in your arsenal of things to say, you are so limited that you, honest to God, have to say, I'm going to go out there and tell you right now, there is no such thing as COVID, and there is no... Don't say that. I'm going to say whatever. When I was on WA, on other shit, I could make it worse by speaking around. I could actually make it worse. Stand by for a second. Stand by for a second. Think to yourself this question. Think about people who also get themselves in trouble who do nothing wrong. See, this is a pitchfork and torch crowd. This is the pitchfork and torch crowd. They just want a scalp. They did the same thing to Mike Lindell. They did the same thing because he was associated with Trump. Well, he's still standing and he still puts out the best products you can find. MyPillow.com, promo code Lionel. It's time yet again, my friends, to hail and salute our great friends at MyPillow.com. And if you use promo code Lionel, you'll get a free gift. No purchase necessary. And yes, I know a free gift. It's a tautology, so sue me. But first, listen carefully. Check out their $25 extravaganzas. Premium MyPillows, Queen and King, MyPillow 2.0. MyPillow bed sheets, the lowest price ever. Sandals, slides, slippers, 6-piece towel sets, 4-pack dish towel sets. Simply and absolutely unbelievable. So go to MyPillow.com/Lionel, MyPillow.com, promo code Lionel, or call 800-645-4965 and watch how fast Mike Lindell answers the phone. MyPillow.com, simply and absolutely the best. Now, remember something. There is no free speech in this country. I mean, I don't know what free speech means. You're not going to go to prison if you say something, but you got to ask yourself the question. And there have been a lot of people who are sitting back and they're saying, now, wait a minute. I don't like what's going on. Fauci, they're talking about coagulants and blood clots and COVID. Oh, no, I don't like this. I don't like this. All these people were saying, is it okay? Yeah. Are you sure? And they're coming out in full force, full guns. They can't wait. Be careful. Be careful. If you think they're going to sit back and say, it's okay now. We've learned our lesson. Let's let people speak their mind. I don't know about that. Then there was these other stuff through these things that came about Ukraine. There were very, very strict rules. That's gone now. I mean, that is just so, it's over the top. But a lot of people said, this was, you don't remember Ukraine, do you? You don't remember it. Or Ukraine, as people call it. It's like insurance. They have these weird, Don't be surprised if all of a sudden you find somebody, So good things have happened. Elon Musk changed the way things are. But people were just getting tired of this. And I think, believe it or not, deep down inside, Silicon Valley people are all kind of old, not hippie types, but they always wanted to do good. And they're really not. The woke brigade is not as much as you think. They kind of infiltrated this group. But here's some others you got to worry about. Tucker Carlson, take it easy. Tucker's just out there. He's just talking to everybody. He's just loving it. I'm thinking, okay, you need somebody to listen and say, watch it there, Tiger. Watch it. What? I didn't say anything wrong. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Just keep in mind that. Now, let me show you this great story. You might not have caught this. There is a feller, and I do not know his name, but I've watched him, and he has a kind of a pretty regular show on YouTube, as it were. And he's a music guy, and he seems like just a nice guy. He talks a lot about Chicago, and I'm a big Chicago. Like, why does Tara leave? Bill Champlin's pissed off. What happened after Terry Kath? Donnie Dacus was good. Chris Pinnock. I knew a lot of inside internecine Chicago stuff. Jimmy Panko's, he's a nice guy. Oh, whatever. While Parasiter had to step down, the band is unrecognizable today. By the way, Leonid and Friends is not a cover band. That the band is in some cases better. Leonid, Leonid, and Friends, they are unbelievable. There is a guy who sings Terry Kath's part. This guy looks like a pirate. And they're all Russians, Ukrainian. There's one guy's name is Vladimir Losavakovich. And he talks like this. He goes, "Ain't it blue?" And he sings like, God, I love this guy. But the price I pay is really the great song, Ain't It Blue, from whatever, which is nobody knows that song, but that is raucous. Anyway, Russian, the best. Okay. So this guy, again, he had this whatever YouTube channel. It's very nice, and he's on my rotation. And all of a sudden, son of a gun, who does he have on? Clapton. Clapton's like his best buddy. I'm thinking, what is this? And they're talking forever. And Clapton, like, they just love each other. And Clapton lives in, I don't know, Indiana. I don't know what's going on there. This is the wildest thing. Okay. And I like Eric Clapton as we walked by on 57th Street where his son fell out of the tragic, horrible, Tears in Heaven. We walk by all the time. I say, there it is. And he's still, and I've seen him so many times. But anyway, listen to whom Eric Clapton listens to in terms of where he gets his news.
The U.S. is doing X, Y, and Z, and we need to support them as you're not patriotic, Eric. If you don't support,
there's just so many alternative.
Watch him pick his nose.
You've got Rising, you've got
I don't know what that's.
Breaking Point, you've got Max Blumenthal.
Okay, look at this. Look at this.
Platforms now. You've got Rising, you've got Breaking Point, you've got Max Blumenthal with the grey zone. I mean, there's so much clear information that is in redacted is like one of my all-time favorite things to watch in the afternoon. I love that. That's great. I mean, but I think that's the thing is the students are listening to that.
Yeah,
they know they've got the message. They're not listening to the powers that be anymore.
Now, by the way, Redacted, I was on, it's out, go to Redacted. It was on with Natalie about Natalie Morris. I think it was out today. I think it dropped today. So watch that one about Trump and whatever. But here what he is. And by the way, Pete, thank you so much, Pete. Thank you for your kindness, my friend. This is Clapton. By the way, Clapton's out playing the guitar, color of the Palestinian flag. Let me tell you something, my friends. I've been here. I want to tell you something, and I want you to learn. I want you to listen to me. And please don't make it. Don't. I don't want to sound like I'm pedantic, but I know what I'm talking about. Take this from me. I give this to you. I've been telling you about Eric Brin, the guy with the plates, forever. Life is being able to handle a bunch of plates at the same time. Issues, facts, things you got to do. Not be slammed. I'm so busy. I'm so slammed. Everybody's slammed. Shut up with the slams. Okay. But here's the one that's important. F. Scott Fitzgerald said, and I paraphrase, the sign of a great mind of superior intellect is being able to handle two seemingly inconsistent, incompatible ideas in your head simultaneously and not lose your sanity. Easy. Easy. I can understand Israel, Bibi, Israelis, Zionists, Arabs who live in Israel, members of the Knesset, the Jerusalem Post versus Haaretz. The American Jew, the Reform, I can understand that one category there. I can also understand perfectly Palestinian, Gazans, PA folks, Abu Mazen, everybody. I understand exactly. What everybody's saying. I understand exactly. Listen to me. What Brianna can't figure out is, but they're wrong. Take it easy. All right. Okay. My God. Vietnam. Hey, kids. Anybody remember that one? You're sitting here and you're watching people coming up. Remember, who remembers watching Cronkite during the week and they show the pictures of the dead? And you've got Americans coming back. You've got people that are dead. People in your neighborhood, or somebody sees somebody, missing a leg. And, all this stuff. And you say, this is horrible. And then you got other people say, wait a minute. I died for my country. Don't tell me this is a mistake. Okay, I understand what you're saying, but it's horrible. I understand what you're saying. And the Vietnamese, what did they do? I understand what you're saying. I understand it. They're all correct. They're all correct to themselves. So who's the overarching correct or not? Do we have any business being in Vietnam? No, of course not. Do I understand and respect the American soldier? Yes. Were some of them horrible? Yes. Were most not? Yes. Do I understand how General Jap, by the way, he's one of my favorites. This is a guy who's just one of the greatest tacticians ever, guerrilla warfare. Do I understand his position? Yes. Ho Chi Minh? Yes. I understand it. I got it. Perfectly. Do I believe in the Ukrainian thing? No, but I understand what they're saying. I got it. You don't have to make a decision. You don't have to make a decision. And I knew how to thread that needle. You have no idea. When I've talked to people about 9/11, for example, I sit there and their jaws drop. I don't hit them over the head with this. I said, what if I told you something? What if I told you? Would this change your mind if? What if I told you something? Did you know that? Isn't that interesting? And this is her youth. This is her impetuousness. This is her, Now, another one too. I did a video today, which is so interesting. I try to tell people this, and they don't really get what I'm saying because, well, frankly, they just don't understand what I'm saying. And I understand it, and I get it. I get it. I got it. I totally get it. But there's a feller called the Gilgo Killer. And this guy, I did one the other day on Bernard Giles, who is he's one of the most interesting. Not him. He's a horrible, rancid human being, but one of the most interesting cases. Well, this Hewerman is unbelievable. This is a guy who is just... So what does he do? Okay. He thinks he's smarter than everybody. This is, by the way, this is a classic. This is the link for that. He's a sociopath, at least. But anyway, he writes down in a Word document how to hunt people, his prey and the like. What a jadrul. He puts down in a word. He tells people, this is what I do. This is how I clean the body. This is how I this is what I do. Make sure you sleep. You don't want to make any mistakes. He talks about how to prepare the body. You can't believe this stuff. You can't believe this stuff. It's just. And his lawyer, and by the way, the reason why his first killer was like in 1993. He's like the slowest, unless there's others on there. This guy's like the most savage, but he's not very prolific. Apparently, there's only been like 6 or so since 1993. Look at Lori. 1, 2, 3, 4. Who are we fighting for? Remember the great, who are we fighting for? Well, don't give a damn. Done in Vietnam. Country Joe McDonald. Thank you, Lori. So let me tell you about this guy. All right. 31 years. 31 years since his first known one. He's slow. Bernard Giles did 5 in less than 3 months. It's unheard of at the age of 20. This guy's older. These 2 cases deserve analysis. But you see, have you ever heard these annoying true crime things on, I think, iHeart? So what you're telling me, like, hey guys, these 2 girls are talking, it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. I love this stuff on HLN. I love this because it's terrific. I just hear the story. The narrator is very, very good. But these children who do this true crime, it's not true crime. Let's talk about true crime. Let's really figure out what true crime, honest to God, is. Our good friend Rascal Dog says, Lionel, you are one social media hero. Thank you, sir. Very kind of you. I am one of many, because this is the greatest thing in the world. You know, by the way, people still don't understand that this is a business. People don't understand, like, well, what do you do? I have friends of mine who are still on TV. Well, why don't you? I say, no, I got to do a show. You have to do a show. I say, this is a show. This is what I do. This is, I want to do. They think that this is a joke or something. Boy, the joke's on them. Anyway, crime is fascinating. And I wanted to do a show. I had a friend of mine years ago. He was an armed robbery detective named Charlie. And we used to sit around and we this is before we knew about social media. I like to say, if we're going to do a crime, here's what we do. Here's his mistake. You realize that when I tell you, here's how he made a mistake, I'm telling you what not to do, right? But I don't want to go and tell people. I don't want to tell people, you know, you should do this and that. I one time did a show to realize, oh my God, I think I just told people how to drink and drive because I was telling all the mistakes people make. I told them all the cases, like, this is what they do. This is what people do. I am fascinated because I'd love to sit there and I'd love to be like John Douglas and talk to this guy Huerman to get his information, lure him in about how smart he was. John Douglas one time interviewed Richard Speck. He said it made him sick. He had to like pretend like, wow, you must, I don't know what you were put in your Wheaties that day, but you must have been, yeah, you were. And he wanted to vomit with this killer, but he had to laud him, and he had to pretend that he admired him. And I'd love to sit with Huerman after we're done and say, are we done? Yeah, we got anything good? Yeah. You know, Rex, there's one thing I don't understand. And you made such a dumb mistake. I mean, you first of all, you write on a Word document what to do. You've got to go through a checklist. He's an architect, this guy. He wrote a checklist. Bundy didn't do that. Ridgway didn't do that. Rader didn't do that. Ramirez didn't do that. Speck, nobody. Even Albert Fish, nobody did that. The prolific, the 27 Yankees, the real serial killers, they didn't do that. Because you're thinking, now you're insulting him. You call yourself a good, first of all of these women are in the same list. You're called the Gilgo Beach Killer. Why? Because you're in one place. Hell, the Green River Killer, what was it, Raider? He was all over the place. Ridgeway, rather. He was all, I mean, it was the Green River was all over. You're in one place. You're a guy who did what? You've got forensics all over the place. What are you talking about? And you've got a veritable treasure trove of every demented piece of pornography. You're so smart. You put it on a Word document? You're an idiot. Now, here's the question. Ready for this? Can you handle this one? Okay. Sure enough, they said, and we found volumes of pornography that was vile and horrible and whatever. Okay. Does that surprise you that a serial killer would have vile pornography? Does it? You ever see any serial killer? He goes, no, he actually was he was an Audubon Society, big donator. He was a bird watcher and loved animals, loved nature. And did you find any pornography? No. And they love to download all this stuff. They want to download it. They got to have the files, millions of files. What did you pour through this? You don't do. What are you doing? Anyway, so here's the question. Do you think it rare that a killer have pornography? No. Does pornography cause killing? No. No. It doesn't. It's ridiculous. This notion, why did they tell you that? Our good buddy Bill Crowell says, OMG, I forgot how stochastic your live streams can be. Oh, yes, indeed. Stochastic, indeed. They're almost idiopathic. This is a wonderful word. When did stochastic come out the other day? Randomly determined, having a random probability, or I like desultory is one, elliptical, sometimes even called it logolalia. Logolalia is like word salad from psychotics. Lori Cuck said, and by the way, thank you, Bill. Lori says, I listened to 9/11 of a lady who'd been mauled by a bear, and he was coming back. She said, stayed by her family. I listened to a 9/11 of a lady who'd been mauled by a bear, and he was coming back. She said, bye to her family. Oh my God. Well, let me tell you something, Laura. You ready for this? Are you ready for this one? Let me tell you. I saw, it was years ago, an off Broadway, but I don't even know what it constitutes a Broadway. It was called, was a VDR voice data recording, or what's it called? It was, what do you call it? Not the black box, but the recording, the cockpit voice recording, CVR or something. That was the name of it. And they took the last words, the last portion of, I don't know, 10 plane crashes where they knew it was happening and they were preparing and they were talking to each other. It was incredible. Laurie says, so disturbing. 911 stayed on the line. Isn't that awful? Trying not to abandon her. And also, Laurie, did you ever notice these 911 operators? They ask the crazy, what are you wearing? Yes. Okay. Did you ever watch the Lawrence Welk show? Would you get him? Okay. Is anybody there? Is he there? Would you just send somebody? Why are you asking me questions? Just send somebody. I guess there's a reason for it. But in this particular case, and you might see them online, you got to hear what they said at the end. People saying goodbye to their families, if they had time. I mean, it was, and sometimes it's so ordinary, and every final word was an expletive. F or S. To know that this is it. This is it. It's incredible. Laurie says, broke arms and legs and the bear was coming back. Wow. You know what's also very weird about that, Laurie, is that there's something, dare I say, something wrong with that bear. Bears are not. There's a wonderful, wonderful interview. What is the fellow from Jiu-Jitsu? He was talking, if either Lex Friedman, I think it was Lex Friedman. And they're talking about what's the worst animal in the world, the one you do not want to come across. And it was probably a tiger, maybe a lion, but tigers are just. And the reason why bears will outrun you. They're incredibly fast, and their endurance, they're great long distance. A bear, you don't think of it like that. They don't hunt in packs. You kind of run into them. They don't go after people. They don't really have to hunt anything down. They do, but they're just not. A lion, tigers are different, but lions you probably can understand better. Night vision. They hunt in packs. They look for the weakest of the group. They will surround folks. They're just, and they will come after you. And they have every means to get you, whether it's their claws or teeth, how to get you. They are absolute hunting machines. Wolves, not really. Hyenas, exceedingly bad, very bad. Again, the pack animal. I love these dogs. These ones. Is this stochastic for you there, Billy? These dogs, these wonderful, like the Pyrenees and these huge wolf, these animals that are used to protect livestock. And they have these big collars with spikes. So when the wolf comes in, and they will go after a wolf. They're fearless. However, here's the however. However, the wolves will say, great, you talk to this dog, we're going to go in for the kill. They work in teams. They work perfectly. And the wolf, but the dog, by the way, is a descendant of the wolf. They're a completely different thing. Absolutely incredible. Did you ever see orcas attack? It's fascinating. And then you get this guy, Rex Heuermann, the worst serial killer, who writes down on a list, this is what you do. This is what you don't do. I love to watch. There's this one about Animal Kingdom. And I don't like it's not violence to me at all. It's beautiful. It's instinct. They know what to do. They're incredible. But I got to tell you, my favorite. This is why the only reason I like Bobby Kennedy is because of the Falconers. There's these. Have you read it? Or go on YouTube and look at these abatement birds. I love this. And there's one in particular. I've watched this a million times. I'm like a kid. If you have a kid, you read it again. I just read it to you. Read it again. All right. I'll read it again. Same story. Read it again. I've seen this video a million times. It's it's in the wine country, and they've lost 1 year, I don't know how many billions of dollars to these starlings, murmurations. When the berries and the grapes get to be so red and succulent, ready to be picked, that's when they move in. And they did everything. They put netting, and they shot shotguns, and they had a scarecrow. Nothing. They were going to lose everything. This guy shows up in his truck. He's got 3 or 4 birds, probably 3. They're raptors. He's got a peregrine falcon. He's got I don't know what he's got, but the peregrines are great. And they don't eat the birds. They're abatement. They flush them out. And he feeds them as a reward meat that he has to say way to go. And it works like this. The first one, I guess, in no particular order, he goes low and flushes them out. Flies in, and the birds have this sense of, uh-oh, and they send a message out. This is not good. Get out of here. Bad news. One bird, this is goes low, like between the rows of this. I mean, he's middle, something wrapped, I don't know what it is, kind of sits there and says, takes the excess. That says, come on, get out of here. I told you to get out of here. But the best is the one who flies the highest, who tells everybody, I'm here. In case you don't know what's going on down there, I'm here. And that's it. And the birds say, see ya. And they don't sit together and say, you know what, if we work together, you know, if we make a murmuration and we create a mass of starlings, maybe then we can fool, which is what people believe a murmuration does. They get the word murmur from the fact that they hum and they're so, all the wings beating, but they say, oh, no. 3 birds. And the birds, the raptors never go after the starling, but the starlings say, that's it, not interested. Level 1, midway, and at the top. This guy in his truck saves billions of dollars. 3 little birds. That's it. That's it. It's beautiful. It's God. That's all, my friends. All right, my friends. I keep saying my friends a lot. Let me tell you that you were terrific. Lori Cuck, thank you so much. Bill Crowell, Rascal Dog, thank you. Lori, Pete O812, Rafael Legonde, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, or did you say Hacksaw Wim Dorian? I like that. I like that code word. I like that. Don't want to be too specific. Muchísimas gracias. Johnny Maz, everybody, and Fishman, thank you. How kind. Well, today was a beautiful day in the neighborhood in New York City. As we speak, it's a beautiful 74 degrees. I think the summer is here, and it is an absolute pleasure being with you. Make sure you follow Mrs. L at Lynn's Warriors. Are you doing what I'm saying? Did you hear what I said? Lynn's Warriors. Wait a minute. Lori's on a tear here. Lori says, the lady was calm and said, tell the husband I love him. You know, just like Sparky, you will Sparky was going through chapters of Ozzie and Harriet today. It's horrible. And think about this, Lori. Imagine that. Do you know what happened to Jeanette? No, she was attacked by a bear. What? And the bear came back and was, I mean, what? Who knew? Terrible. Terrible. What about the one where the chimp in Connecticut ripped the face off this woman? Remember that? Did you ever see this one? This family, they took this old chimp in. Remember that? And they gave it a birthday party. They go, oh, he's so nice. And one day these birds, they eat your fingers and they go after your face. I mean, they're really bad. She had no idea. And she lost her face. He ripped her face off. And also what chimps do, men, let me tell you what they do. You know what they do? You know what they also do, men? Look at this. Remember the Bob Marley song, 3 Little Birds? Indeed. Thank you, Spark. Chimps will also go into men and rip off your gonads to prevent you from reproducing. So think about that. Fingers and nads. That's it. They look real cute, but they're not. Remember I said this. Fingers and nads. Fingers and nads. It was a Burl Ives song most people don't know about. All right, dear friends. See you in the morning. Have a great and glorious day. Don't forget to follow Mrs. L at Lynn's Warriors. Make sure you follow this as well. Like this video. Subscribe. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a great and glorious day. And don't forget, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Da-da.